Draft night for the New York Knicks. Who can put that into words? They were by far the busiest team in the 2022 draft. We're talking about 3 separate trades that had players and picks just all over the place. Now, we tried to make this as easy as possible to understand. So here we go. All right. First up, the Knicks had the number 11 pick entering the night. There was a lot of talk about them potentially moving up. Instead, they decided to trade out of the first round by sending that pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder in exchange for 3 future first-rounders. Then we move on to the next one. Shortly after completing the deal with the Thunder, the Knicks, they got back on the phone. They worked out a trade with the Charlotte Hornets. They took the 2023 first round via Denver, then got in the Thunder trade and packaged it with 4 future second-rounders for the 13th overall pick. All right, moving on. Finally, the Knicks then flipped the 13th pick, which is Jalen Brunson and Kemba Walker, to Detroit Pistons in the third deal. In return, the Knicks got a 2025 first-rounder, a pick from Milwaukee, which the Pistons had previously acquired in the Jeremy Grant trade earlier this week. So you see the final haul here kind of breaks it all down. The Knicks closed the night with 3 future first-round picks, some extra cap space. It's $18 million to be exact. So you got all of that? Nice and easy, right? Yeah. All right. Let's welcome back Bill Reiter and Avery Johnson. Now that all the dust has settled on the craziness of the Knicks that put us through last night, I mean, it was just all over the place. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at the moves that they made. So, Bill, how did they set themselves up for success in the future?
These words are strange, but I actually think the Knicks might have done something smart on draft night. They allowed themselves to make some selections down the road, as you just pointed out, including several first-round picks next year, and they created a lot of cap space. So the question becomes, as it always does with New York, is do they use the cap space properly? It's great to have cap space. You have to use it in a way that's smart, bring in the right people, fit it with the right guys that you draft. You have to draft properly. But the Knicks are able to take a situation where they can go out and make a run. We discussed earlier, Kyrie Irving or other free agents down the road or Jalen Brunson. And those picks, if it's a big if they draft properly in 2023 and 2025, that all of a sudden turns an organization that I think is behind guys into one that could have a lot of depth even 12 months from now.
Avery, how about some free agents the Knicks could and should realistically target?
Well, there's one guy that I think has been on the Knicks' mind the entire season, and they strategically made a move when they hired Rick Brunson, the dad of Jalen Brunson. It's kind of like something that college coaches would do when they're trying to sign a 5-star type of player. So I think this is a guy that they've zeroed in on. They think he's a game changer. He's a true point guard. He's a 2-time NCAA champion. He helped elevate the Mavericks when Luka Doncic was out in that first round against the Utah Jazz. This guy makes big shots. They think he can complement what they have. Guys like Barrett, Julius Randle, obviously, they want to get the ball out of his hands a little bit more. And he's just a Northeast guy, played ball at Villanova in Philadelphia. Knicks fans are very familiar with him. He's played a lot of the Big East tournaments in Madison Square Garden. So they feel that he has the DNA of the type of Knick player that they want to move forward with. So the New York Knicks, if they can land Jalen Brunson, even though Mark Cuban can pay him more, they would be thrilled to death.
Get him in the Northeast. Just a good old Northeast guy. That's what I like to hear. All right, for the Bulls, it's expected that they will sign Zach LaVine, but the Lakers, Trailblazers, Spurs, Mavericks are also said to be interested. So, Bill, what do you think of Chicago's pursuit here? And if it isn't Chicago, best landing spots for him?
It feels like at this point that it should feel like it's a lock that Zach LaVine is coming back. They want to pay him. They built their team and their process around the idea of giving him a max deal. And it's a really interesting and good basketball team, especially when everybody is healthy. And the fact that he has not said that he's coming back, that there is some uncertainty, that there are certainly some rising signals that places like San Antonio and Portland that have money, and Dallas and Miami that have ambitions, if not the same cap space, feel a middling level of confidence they can land Zach LaVine. Has folks that I've talked around the NBA thinking that there's a possibility he goes somewhere else. And a lot like with Bradley Beal, it's just a giant question mark, a lot like the draft last night, where usually at this point we know what's going on and people around the NBA know what's going on. And just like last night, who was going to go number 1 overall, there's a lot of uncertainty about what Zach LaVine wants to do. and optimism in places that aren't Chicago, then they may be able to make a run then.
Also, you mentioned right there uncertainty when it comes to a player like Bradley Beal. It seems like, he might decline his player option. That means he would enter free agency after a 10-year career with the Wizards. So, Avery, what do you see happening with Beal?
Well, first, let me just say this. I agree with Beal on Zach LaVine. Chicago can pay him the most money, but I really believe in his heart he wants to be a Laker. He wants to go and play with LeBron James, learn from LeBron James. Sure, he had an incredible run this year with DeMar DeRozan, but DeMar DeRozan is not LeBron James. So we'll see what happens. But Bradley Beal, I think Miami is the perfect landing spot for him. I believe, especially with the situation and the health of Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry broke down at the end of the season. It put a tremendous amount of pressure on Jimmy Butler. And Tyler Hero had some issues with injuries. And when he tried to play in that Game 7, he just wasn't the same player. But you bring in a veteran like Bradley Beal. It's similar to, I believe, when Jimmy Butler wasn't re-signed with Philadelphia and he went to Miami. Miami's got that discipline. They have the culture. They have the coaching. Eric Spoelstra, championship coach. I think they have the infrastructure that can really help Bradley Beal and give him his best chance of winning an NBA title.
Avery,
I couldn't agree more. Let me just
go for it.
Sorry, let me just I got all excited. It's such a good point. I'll just add, unlike Kyrie Irving, who we discussed earlier, Bradley Beal is universally regarded as a great guy, a great locker room guy, a great culture guy, a great player. I'm with Coach. If he decides he's open to being somewhere other than Washington, the Miami Heat aren't just a great fit for him. He's a great fit for the Miami Heat.
Listen, we were trying to speed this up. You guys just have so much information. You want to keep it coming, but we'll let you go now. Thank you so much for joining us on this hour CBS Sports HQ, fellas. We got a lot of interesting moments coming up in the NBA. Here's a list of those prominent names that could be some highly sought after fellas after a week from now or so. You see James Harden, of course, at the top of that list. And LaVine, everyone's saying LaVine, Coach likes him potentially going to the Lakers. Who knows? Unrestricted free agent. That's coming up. You mentioned Harden there, DeAndre Ayton, Bradley Beal, both Coach and Avery, big fans. Avery and Bill, both big fans of him potentially going to Miami.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.